Salutation, this is Christian of Fire Fade Nerd, and thank you for joining. And today I wanted to kind of just go on a broad subject with three of my favorite cartoons, animes, all that. And those are going to be including characters from Fairy Tail, or mainly one character each, or words, whatever. But basically, Fairy Tail, One Piece, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, I love all three of these series, but I was wondering, because there are two particular characters from One Piece and Fairy Tail, that I wonder how would they fare against the Avatar, or Katara, or an Earth, or a different Firebender. And those two characters I'm wondering about are, first, Fire Fist Ace from One Piece, and second, Juvia from Fairy Tail. Now, the reason why I'm curious about how these two characters would face up against the Avatar or other benders is that they turn into fire and water respectively. Fire Fist Ace ate the flare or the mera fruit in Japanese, the flare or other fruit names in America. Digressing aside, he ate a Logia type devil fruit, which gives him the power to become fire and manipulate that fire. Now, he's not able to manipulate other fire like a firebender is, and he has the added weakness that he can't really be submerged in water. And so, the debate for him would be, would a firebender or waterbender be stronger against him? Would a firebender be able to override his control over his own body since it's fire? Or would a waterbender be more effective by submerging him in water? Nextly, Juvia, she is water. It seems like she's naturally water. And how she stays together is probably some electromagnetic force that would possibly be fun to get into on my other channel, Fire Fade Dragon. But that channel's kind of on pause because it takes more time to research, and I've been very busy recently. But again, would a firebender be strong against Juvia? Maybe an earthbender could soak her up, or maybe a waterbender would override her control over herself. So, I'm just going to speculate at you guys about which bender would be strongest to defeat, which benders would be strongest to defeat each of those two characters. Let's start with Juvia. In my opinion, the weaker one, and the one who would lose the fight against Fire Fist Ace. And I'll get into Fire Fist Ace's abilities later, but Juvia was one of the strongest fairies from the guild. I think it's Phantom Lord. It's been too long, I don't remember off the top of my head, and I've already done 4 minutes of filming, so I don't want to restart. This channel's less research-based than the other one, but I'll figure that out, and so in my future videos I can correct myself if I'm wrong. But she's one of the top 4 wizards of a guild before she joins Fairy Tail. She's even strong enough to contend with Grey, one of the 10 strongest of Fairy Tail, and Fairy Tail is a strong guild. She has abilities that are able to trap her opponents in floating spheres of water. I think it may also somewhat nullify their powers. She is water, so it's harder to physically hit her and hurt, and so on. Her magic is based on water creation and manipulation, or water summoning and manipulation. Overall, a really powerful character, and it'd also be fun to debate whether hockey would work on her, and I'll explain hockey with Fire Fist Ace. But moving on, Juvia has enough control that you'd have to be top levels of Earthbender to be able to capture her in Earth to any degree. There are clays which hold water very well, but it's not really going to be effective against Juvia, who can just will herself out of it again. And since she can summon water, firebending at her can just wouldn't be too effective. You can dissolve her slowly, but she can summon water faster than I'm sure even the Avatar would be able to pull off without his Avatar state. It is. If we are theorizing that she is held together by a delicately balanced electromagnetic force, Firebender actually might be the strongest bender because of lightning bending. If you hit her with lightning, it could throw off the electromagnetic balance. Speculation. Airbenders, I'd put them in fourth place with dealing with Juvia. Earthbenders, I'd put them at. If you can get your hands on lava to Earthbend, that might be effective against Juvia. So, because of the uncertainty of whether or not you'd be able to lightning Juvia to pieces, I'm going to say that Airbenders would be fourth place dealing with Juvia. Firebenders third. Although it's more unlikely that you'll be able to get your hands on lava, but under the right circumstances, Earthbenders would be the second best in my opinion, and a good Bloodbender would be the best to deal with Juvia. Not because of Juvia having traditional blood, but because it's taking control over somebody else to manipulate their actions. Although that's more of a delaying tactic. But again, wizards do seem to have mana caps in fairy tales, so I think overall waterbending would still be the strongest to deal with Juvia. Moving on to Fire Fist Ace, I think he would beat Juvia up no problem because he's strong enough to throw fire through 5 large warships of the Navy. And this is impressive because it looks less like, the animation looks less like burning and more like the physical fire, which is gas, very light, is doing blunt pushing through, not like burning through, searing through. It is like physically pushing through the 5 ships. I might be thinking of the time Hawkeye Mihawk, one of the warlords, destroyed a few ships, but I'm pretty sure that Fire Fist Ace punched fire through 5 large warships. And with firepower like that, and firepower, he went up against Teach Blackbeard, who had the dark fruit, which, and they clashed on an island, and the clash was so big, island was like this size, the size of my hand, and each of them, they'll blast covered half the island. I don't really have an exact how long the island was, but the island, by looks of things, of how big the town was, and approximate scaling, I'm going to have to say it was like probably at least 20 miles across. So a 10-mile ball of flame, like 10-mile diameter at least, and 20 miles feels like a very low estimate to me, since it takes like 1.5 acres to or 0.5 hectare or something to support a person on food for a year, and to have a whole town, 20 miles. it just feels small. But to have that amount of firepower, I think Juvia would. I think Fire Fist Ace could dissolve Juvia way faster than she could summon more water for her own being, especially with mana being much more capped than the ability to use Devil Fruits or Hockey from One Piece. So, honestly, I think if they speculation, I think it would be a quick battle in Ace's favor if they fought against each other. Conversely, a bloodbending wouldn't work on Fire Fist Ace, since he would be fire, not at all water, in his Logia form. And so we get to kind of speculate. Would airbending be strong enough to do more than feed the fire? Would earthbending be effective? Could you smother the fire? Toph has, at least in one circumstance, just poofed a cloud of smoke. That would hinder airflow, and so that could be a decently effective way to smother Fire Fist Ace. Give him a good debuff. Fire bending could be like blood bending in this circumstance, but Fire Fist Ace would be susceptible to being submerged in water. Going through things, I'm just real quickly debating in my head who is in 4th place. And it is honestly between water and air. Water because either it would just steam off of him, or because he would have the agility to evade it. Air is kind of at the bottom of the list because Fire Fist Ace again has fire in such magnitude that it probably would just feed the fire. Overall, you'd probably have to be avatar levels of airbending, like in the avatar state level of airbending to really put out Fire Fist Ace, or have a chance to. So I'd say airbending is at the bottom of the list again. Sorry, airbending, you're really great in your universe, but One Piece is just so much more. The power is just scaled way higher. And as mentioned, water bending, even though you could do areas attack, the volume of water would just be too low, and it would just steam off him, and more condensed attacks, Fire Fist Ace would just be able to avoid. So, waterbending is in 3rd place here. Now, I actually will put firebending in 2nd place. Now, the reason I say this is because Fire Fist Ace only loosely controls his ability. He does his special moves, crossfire, fireflies and stuff. He does the moves, and he moves around. But firebending is hardly ever used to just directly stop fire. And he can, of course, create more fire. And he has such area attacks, and firebenders are still susceptible to fire attacks. So, even though they would be able to hinder him a little bit, I don't think they'd be able to. I think his overall power level would just be too much to control enough to stop the vast area attacks that he has. Leaving Earthbending as number 1 because they can just cloud of smoke, and this isn't just. Would smother the fire, would putting him out, slow him down, to make it so that you can better smother him completely. You know, you could just start with a little dust, build it up, build it up, build it up, and all the while, if you have senses like Toph, you could just be in a little cage. Safe. But, yeah, that's my speculation. Go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments. And until next video, this is Christian of 5FA Nerd, signing out. And please don't be too mad with my speculation here. Anyway, signing out.